It's another fabulous Tuesday. This is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Where the heck did the beginning of the year go? I just don't even know. It's pretty crazy to think that next week it's going to be April already. So I have to start planting and getting ready, getting all my seedlings ready. I've been gifted some tobacco seedlings this year, so I'm really excited to see if I can cultivate those. I have some really good space right against the back of my house, so I'm hoping that with the amount of sun it gets there that we can do some companion planting and it can have some family to grow nice and strong. So we'll see how it goes. But in the interim, I have to make sure that I get them growing inside before I can bring them outside. Yeah, it's just a beautiful time of year. It's a time of like renewal and rebirth. I'm trying to, before the next moon, trying to fit in as much winter medicine picking as I can. So I found an amazing little spot. It's kind of tucked away, but still in kind of the center of the city, where I found some beautiful red willow. So I made some amazing drumsticks with the girls of Stardale on the weekend. And it was so nice. I forgot how wonderful it feels to be able to create together and, to be able to share the songs and the stories with them, and just the amazing drums that they created were just beautiful. They were breathtaking. They were each so unique, and it was just such a gift to be able to share them. And I remember how much I miss it. I really, really do. I really miss sitting down and just birthing drums with people. And so I can't wait until, we've got like this herd immunity thing going on and we're allowed to go back to that normal, working together and being in each other's spaces, and I can go back to teaching in person, because I really, really do miss it. I've been teaching a lot lately, and it's been a gift that we can do it online, but still I really I miss hearing little voices. I miss, having that ability to share the drum and to be able to, hear people drumming and singing together, because there's always that weird lag online. So it's been a gift to be able to share, at least in this way, in this capacity, over the last year, and it has been a year. It's amazing. I've been doing this for over a year, every week, only missing that one week when I was down south, close to the border, with the pigs squealing all night, which was horrifying. But other than that, yeah, I've been really consistent, so I'm like, that's great. But I just wanted to start by welcoming everybody and hoping everybody has been having a great week, and just by acknowledging the land upon which we stand, because again, if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. And it's important to really have that sense of place and have that sense of connection, and really tether ourselves to the earth. It's I was thinking a lot about the teachings of the tree of life in so many different cultures, and how we need that strong base. We need that strong connection to the earth and to our ancestors, to our blood, to our bones, to really grow strong on all fronts. As if we don't have that good base, just like any building or any plant, it'll just blow right over. And so we need that base. And so I'm so humbled and thankful to live here in Mulkinstis in Treaty 7 territory. And it has been my home for so long, and it keeps pulling me back. It keeps bringing me back. And it's just such a gift to be able to live here, to be able to share here, and to be able to build community in a meaningful way. And so I acknowledge the families that have been here for thousands and thousands of generations before I even arrived. So I thank the Blackfoot of Siksika, Kainai, and Pagani. I thank the Circe Dene from Tsutsuna, and the Stoney Nakoda from Morley, which includes Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. I have learned so much from all of those nations, and it's really led me on this diverse and interesting path, and to work with so many different communities, all ages, all groups, all abilities, and it's just such a gift to be able to share those things in a meaningful way. And so just to welcome everybody today into the circle, like I do every week, is by sharing the Cree welcome song. So traditionally when we sing songs, we sing in rounds of 4, down to the 4 directions of the medicine wheel. But this song is a little different. We sing it in rounds of 3. And that's to keep the circle open and welcoming, so everyone completes the circle today. Because in a circle, we're all connected. There's no beginning, there's no end, no one is greater or less than anyone else in the circle, just like in the hoop of life. So it teaches us to honor each other for those differences. Because if everybody was exactly the same, the world would be incredibly boring and nothing would ever get done. But this song gives us that ability to just welcome everybody in, pull everybody into the circle. It teaches us to come together without judgment and not to compare ourselves to others because we're on a different path than them. We're, in a different space and we have different things to accomplish here. Well, when we're having our time on this earth, because we're spiritual beings, we just happen to be on a physical journey this lifetime. So it's important to, understand that and know that you got to work on you. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Work on you. And this song really helps us to honor that. This song is from the Not the How family from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation in Saskatchewan. Actually, they're on the border of Saskatchewan and Alberta. And so I honor that family for keeping this song and for keeping this story alive. And this song has really guided me a lot on my journey. And it's been one of those things that it's always resonated for me as a way to start in a good way, to be able to welcome everybody in a good way. And so Miasin, which is the Cree welcome song. It doesn't just mean welcome, it also means beautiful. So I'm going to stand up to sing. Miasin, miasen, hasemina, hasemina, e petakote, iwagomagan, hota, homa, kitaskino, miasen, miasen, hasemina, hasemina, e petakote, niwagomagan, hota, homa, kitaskino, miasen, miasen, hasemina, hasemina, he petakote, niwagomagan, hota, homa, kitaskino. Hi, and welcome to the circle today. So today I've got a lot of stories. I don't know, I'm in a storytelling kind of frame of mind today. So but before we get started, I just kind of wanted to ground myself by doing a quick smudge, just to cleanse off everything that we've done today and just ground and center. I have some smudge that I've already kind of pre-made, so I'm just going to light one of these beautiful things of sage. Being Cree, I use a lot of sage, but this is how we cleanse, it's how we ground, it's how we get rid of things that we don't need and bring in the things that we do need. So I just want to make sure that I'm fresh for today, which is a good thing because I have been working with little kids all day, so I'm in like the little oh my gosh, you're so cute mindset, which is awesome and adorable. But of course, sometimes you just need to switch gears. So I'm going to smudge. Of course, laying out all of my medicines, even though I'm not using all of them, and just honor the 4 directions of the medicine wheel that each one represents. Because it's important to bring all of those energies in with you. Even if you're only using one medicine, you're always honoring all of the other ones, all of the other directions, all of the other parts of you. The parts of your time of life, the parts of your body, the parts of your being, the weather, of course, the different seasons. And as I'm smudging, I'll light it. I'm going to fan it with my hand, but we always fan it with our hand. We never blow on it because our breath is our life and our life is precious and we don't waste that for anybody. I'm going to just smudge my hands to get rid of anything that I'm carrying. Bring it over my body 4 times, to honor the 4 directions in my body. Smudge my mind so I can think clearly and learn from every person that crosses my path. So I can be remember to be open-minded, never rigid with my thinking, because it's so important to maintain that curiosity. I'm actually going to come and bring it here so I'm facing the camera. Smudge my ears so I can be open to hear all of the messages that Creator sends me, to remember that I have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so I can listen to as much as I speak, and to recognize the difference between listening and hearing. Smudge my eyes so I can see all of the beauty that surrounds me. The gift of vision is so, so important, but I can see not only all those things around me, but the unseen as well. I think sometimes we always, in our society, need to prove things, but I think sometimes it's important to have faith in the things that you can't necessarily see with your own eyes. Smudge my nose so I smell danger and cookies. I smudge my mouth so I speak only true and kind words that are helpful and benefit mankind. I always ask myself, is it truthful? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Is it respectful? If it's none of those things, don't say it and don't do it. Smudge my throat. Very thankful for my voice this lifetime, so I can continue to give voice to the voiceless and honor the voice that Creator has given me. I don't know what's going on upstairs, but my kids are having a party. Smudge my lungs so I breathe good, clean air. I honor the sacred breath that we all share. I smudge my heart so I remember to be kind and compassionate, show unconditional love to all those around me, to my family, to my friends, and to all those people I haven't met, but also to show that love to myself. I smudge my stomach so all of the food that I eat this day will nourish my body. I smudge my belly button because that's our spirit. That's where we're connected before we come into this world. And this is where our ancestors speak through us and to us. This is what our intuition is all about. Smudge my womanhood because I'm very thankful to be a woman and a mother in this time. I am a two-spirit woman, so I embody both that masculine and feminine energy. But it's important just to be thankful for that gift of life that I was able to do. I'm going to smudge my back and my shoulders so I can carry all of the responsibilities that Creator has gifted me with grace and humility. I smudge my arms, my hands, so I can do the good work that Creator's put me here to do. So I'm going to smudge my legs so I walk this red road in a good way. That's that path of Aboriginal spirituality. And then I smudge my feet so I stay grounded and connected to Mother Earth, treading lightly upon her and honoring her with every step. And then if there's anywhere else in your body you need a little extra love, definitely I always need a little extra love in my hips, just because of all the hip surgeries I've had, in my lower back, because of course it's all connected. Been having some struggles there. And if there's anybody that you want to send that healing, that love, that appreciation to, whether it be that emotional healing, that spiritual healing, that mental healing, or that physical healing, hold them in your heart and just send them that love. And then when you're all done, you can just say hi, or makuch, or merci, or grazie, or shia, or dankeschön, however you say thank you in your language, because your language is important. And just actually wanted to share a quick story about tobacco. So the story that I know behind tobacco is, well, before it became a sacred medicine, before any of the medicines were really sacred and had special gifts and abilities, Creator knew that we were coming to Earth. So all of the animals were called together, and there was a huge council of them, and told that the two-leggeds would be coming to the planet, would be coming here. And they were also told that, well, they had to teach the two-leggeds how to pray. They had to teach the two-leggeds how to honor each other and how to honor the earth, because we were here before, but we kind of dropped the ball on that. So with Sakajak, who was supposed to teach us a little bit lazy and didn't really teach us, and we kind of devastated the world. And so we had like a do-over. And so this was the Council of Animals and Plants before we came back. They had to decide who was going to teach what to the two-leggeds. And Creator hadn't found a plant or an animal yet to be able to teach them how to be humble, to be able to teach them how to give back, and to be able to teach them how to pray in a different way. And so he asked all of the animals and all of the plants, well, who will be able to teach them? Who will be able to, sacrifice themselves and show these two-leggeds how to pray in a good way, how to give something back to the earth, and who will nourish the earth, who will be able to give something to each other, who will be able to give something to the animals to honor that life, but to be able to understand how to always give as opposed to receive. Because if not, the two-leggeds are going to take and take and take, and then there's going to be nothing left. And so all of the animals and the plants started to discuss, well, who do you think should be in that role? And the bear said, well, I'm biggest, so I'll probably have the biggest impact, so I should do it. And then the eagle said, well, I can fly the highest, and they'll pray with my feathers, so I should do it. I should be that harbinger. And then all of the plants started arguing amongst themselves, like, well, who should be able to do it? And some of the berries said, well, you can use me, you can eat me. Cedar's like, well, you can eat me drinking, you can use me in your bath, you can use me for pretty much everything. And so all of the medicinal plants started arguing about who was the best. And all of the animals started to argue about who was the best. And so eventually, all of the animals and all of the plants were arguing about who should do it. And then the tiny little tobacco, just a seedling at the time, stepped forward and said, Creator, I know that I'm not greater than anyone else here. I know that they all have different gifts and different talents and different ways that they're going to be teaching the two-leggeds. But Creator, I don't have a job. Because the two-leggeds, they can't eat me. They can't smoke me. They can't put me in their bath. They can't drink me for tea. They can't really do anything with me, Creator. So I would like to offer myself so that they can learn how to pray, because I don't really have another purpose, Creator. And Creator said, because of the humility that you have shown, tobacco, yes, you will be my voice on earth. And so from that point on, the tobacco plant showed us how to pray, showed us how to give back to the earth whenever we took a plant, showed us how to give back to the animals whenever we were asking permission to take their life so that we could eat them, showed us how to pray to each other and how to pray to Creator. And so this was such a gift that tobacco had given us. This is why it is our sacred plant and why it is in the north. And it's spirit medicine. So even though we can't drink it or smoke it, or have it in tea or put it in our bath or anything like that, we can't have it on the outside or the inside of our body because it is toxic, it still reminds us to pray. It shows us that faith is not about consumption, but faith is about giving. And this is exactly what the tobacco plant has done and how it has taught us about unconditional love and unconditional giving. And so it's a gift to have tobacco. So whenever I receive tobacco, I'm so thankful for it. Whenever I gift tobacco, I do it in a meaningful way from my spirit to that person's spirit. And it's such an important gift. And also when I'm doing medicine picking, I always bring tobacco with me. And I just sprinkle it on the ground. In Cree teachings, we sprinkle it on the ground and let the wind take it to the earth. In Blackfoot teachings, you would actually put it on the ground and rub it in. It's just different teachings. But you're always giving tobacco back to the world, to the earth. Or if you don't have tobacco, you have other things to give. But that's one of the main staples that we do give back to the earth for that story alone. And so that being said, I wanted to share, I'm going to share the healing song. I was thinking about it today. And just, there's a lot of people that are hurting right now, and I want to send some love and appreciation to some of the families that are really struggling and some of the people that are really struggling. We lost an elder over the weekend, and I just want to send love and peace to her family, to her husband, and to everybody in the community that will be missing this incredible woman, incredible part of our lives. And so, yeah, this is the Cree healing song, also the crying song or the wailing song. We're going to sing it through 4 times, but the third time we actually stop drumming. And in that silence, I invite you to pray for the things that you need in your own life, or to pray for the people that you need, to pray for the healing that we need as a society, as a community, as friends, as families, and for our individual selves, because if you can't heal, how are you supposed to help other people? And so this song is just really, really powerful. And if you feel tears coming, let them out, because that's the way we heal. That's the way we show that compassion and caring, because it comes out in a physical form, which is our tears. And when we stop the drumming and you're able to pray in that way, once the drumming comes back, you just release all of that energy, all of those prayers, all of that intention, and let Creator do the work that needs to happen with it. And so this is the healing song. Hey, 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 oh, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, yo. Hey, hey, oh, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, yo. Hey, hey, oh, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, yo. Hey, hey, oh, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, way high, yo, way high, way high, yo. So I'm going to share the creation story. That's been on my mind today. I got to share it with a couple little kid classes today, and it was awesome. And I forgot how much I just love this story and what it teaches us. Same with the raven story. I love that story and just what it teaches us. And so the story, I talked a little bit about, the second time around that, we came into this earth. But there's that transition time in between. So when we were first here, we made a hot mess. Wasaka didn't teach us how to live on the earth. And so we kind of just destroyed everything. We didn't know how to take care of each other. We didn't know how to take care of the land or the water or the air or the animals or the plants. And so everything just kind of fell apart. And so Creator needed a mulligan. And so it started to rain one day. And Wasaka was curled up under a tree. He kind of felt the rain on his face, but he didn't think much of it. But then he felt as the river slowly creeped up past his toes, past his ankles, and started to rush over his knees. And he woke up with a start and realized, oh, this probably meant that it was time for renewal, and Creator was going to flood the earth. So Wasaka panicked for a while, ran around and go, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Okay, I'm going to go talk to the beaver, because the beaver always knows what to do. One of the wisest animals. She comes up with the greatest solutions. So he went to see the beaver, and he said, Beaver, beaver, it's not going to stop raining, and we have to be able to rescue all of the animals so that we can rebuild the earth. What are we going to do? And the beaver thought for a moment, and she thought, and she thought, and then she said, well, I suppose we could go talk to the cedar tree. She has seen everyone come and go throughout this world. She is thousands and thousands of years old. She's seen so many of our generations come and go. She'll know what to do. And so together they went to see the wise cedar tree, the oldest cedar tree left in all of the planet. And she was huge. If anybody's ever seen a large tree before, you could put like a whole family's hands around her, and she still couldn't reach the other side. She was just massive. And the beaver said, Cedar, Cedar, it's going to rain, and all of the animals will be washed away. We need to be able to save everyone. What should we do? And the cedar very graciously said, well, beaver, you'll have to cut me down and hollow me out so that you can make a boat and rescue everyone. And so, very reluctantly and thankfully, the beaver cut down that giant cedar tree. And finally there was a loud crack and she began to fall. And as she hit the ground, whoosh, the whole earth shook with how large and majestic she was. All of the animals heard the crash and came from miles and miles around from every corner of the earth and knew this was their only chance to be saved. And so all of the animals climbed in to the boat that the beautiful cedar tree had given of herself. And as they all climbed in, and finally the last animal climbed in, it started to rain harder and harder and harder. And they watched over the side of the boat as all of the water started to rush over Turtle Island, as all of the rivers started to burst their banks. The oceans rose up to meet the banks of the rivers until the whole world was coated with all of this water. But it didn't stop there. It continued to rain harder and harder and harder, and all of the animals looked over the side of the boat as they watched the beautiful earth disappear deeper and deeper and deeper underneath the water until it was completely gone into the darkness. And it continued to rain for what seemed like forever, so many days and so many nights. And then eventually it stopped. And when it stopped, Wasakajack knew that meant, well, it meant they had to rebuild the earth. But how were they going to do that? And so Wasakajack went to, of course, the smartest animal he knew. And he said, Beaver, Beaver, it stopped raining. We need to rebuild the earth. What do we do? And the beaver thought about it for a moment. And she thought, and she thought. She said, well, I suppose we would have to get earth from the bottom of the ocean to be able to rebuild. And Wasakajack said, that's a great idea. Who will get the earth from the bottom? And the beaver said, well, I'm a pretty good swimmer. Let me try. And so she dove out of the side of the boat. She dove down deeper and deeper and deeper, but couldn't reach the bottom. She swam up to the top and she said, oh, Wasakajack, it is really, really far down. It is so dark. I couldn't see the bottom. I'm not sure anyone can reach the bottom. So she climbed back in the boat. And Wasakajack and the beaver asked all of the animals who will try to reach the bottom so that we can rebuild the earth, because we need earth to rebuild. And all of the animals talked to each other. And first the largest animals came forward, the moose and the bear and many other large animals, and said, well, we are quite big, so perhaps we can reach the bottom. And so first the moose jumped out. Moose is a pretty good swimmer, but she couldn't get very deep at all. And then the bear, who had just finished hibernation, so he was a little on the chubby side, was like, well, I can try. And he hopped in, but because he was a little on the chubby side, he was very buoyant, so he just kind of hung out and floated there for a while. And then all of the animals were like, Bear, get back in the boat. This is unbearable to watch. Ba-dum-bum. And so, of course, he climbed in the boat. And many of the larger animals tried and failed. None of them could reach the bottom. And so they wondered, well, who else could reach the bottom? And then the divers said, well, perhaps we can reach the bottom. We can dive very, very deep. We can fly, some of us, really, really high. So perhaps the higher we soar in the sky, the deeper we can reach into the ocean. And so first the eagle tried. And the eagle is a really wonderful diver. A lot of people don't know that, but he does hunt for fish. And so he flew up the highest that he had ever reached until he was almost dizzy. And then he dove straight down into the water. But he could not reach the bottom. And then the kingfisher, who was also an amazing diver and an amazing swimmer, soared up as high as he could and dove down straight into the water, cutting it like a dagger. He used his wings to dive down deeper and deeper, but he could not hold his breath any longer, and he couldn't make it to the bottom. And so he swam up to the top and said, oh, Wasakajack, it is so far down. We, the divers, could not touch the bottom. Someone else will have to try. And so the fastest swimmers thought that they could try. And so they each tried and failed until the little otter said, well, I'm the fastest swimmer. I'm sure I can reach the bottom. There's no problem. I can reach the bottom. No problem. And so he hopped out of the side of the boat and he dove down deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, but he could not reach the bottom. So the little otter swam up to the top and said, sorry, but Sack-Jack, I can reach the bottom. I'm pretty sure nobody else can reach the bottom because we're the fastest swimmers and there's no way we could reach the bottom. And he got back in the boat. The best swimmers all tried and failed to reach the bottom. The turtle even tried, and the turtle can soar. He can go down to the deepest depths. And so the turtle jumped in. She dove down deeper and deeper and deeper. But as she got deeper, the pressure from all of that heavy water around her started to crack her shell. It cracked her shell into 13 portions and 28 ridges along the outside. She swam up to the top and said, I'm sorry, Sack-Jack. It is too far down and the pressure is too strong for my shell. I can't make it to the bottom. All of the animals had tried and failed, and no one could reach the bottom. And so all of the animals were starting to feel hopeless. They were wondering, will they ever see land again? And then there was a tiny voice inside the boat that said, I could do it. All of the animals looked around and said, who said that? And again, they heard that little voice, I can do it. And again, they looked around and said, who said that? And then through the crowd, the tiny little muskrat stood up on her hind legs, puffed out her chest proudly, and said, I can do it. All of the animals erupted in laughter. All of the biggest animals started laughing at Muskrat, saying, Muskrat, you're so tiny. There's no way you could reach the bottom. We're much bigger than you, and we couldn't even reach the bottom. All of the best divers started laughing and saying, Muskrat, you're a terrible diver. We couldn't reach the bottom. How are you going to reach the bottom? The fastest swimmer started laughing at her. Muskrat, you're so slow. There's no way you can reach the bottom. We can reach the bottom. There's no way you can reach the bottom. And they continued to laugh at her. And then the best swimmers, they started laughing at her and saying, Muskrat, you're not a very strong swimmer. We couldn't reach the bottom. How are you supposed to reach the bottom? And so as all of the animals were laughing at her, she was determined and said, I can do it. And so she stood on the edge of the boat. She took the deepest breath that she ever had before in her life, and she dove down deep into the water. She dove down deeper and deeper and deeper until she disappeared into the darkness. All of the animals, realizing that she had left, looked over the side of the boat just to see her disappear into the darkness. And they waited, and everyone got really quiet, just waiting for Muskrat to return. There was nothing, and they realized there was no way that Muskrat could have held her breath that long. How could she have survived? And then as they looked over the side, they saw a tiny bubble of air float to the surface. And they knew that that was Muskrat's very last breath. And they started to cry. They cried and they cried. How could we be so mean to Muskrat? How could we laugh at her? Oh my gosh, why did she give herself and sacrifice herself? What are we going to do now? And so as they cried, their tears, so salty, filled the ocean with the salt of their tears. When Sack-Jack, still hopeful, looked over the side of the boat, waiting for Muskrat to return. Finally, he saw a tiny little silhouette floating up to the surface. It was Muskrat's lifeless body. He reached in with all of his might and held her close to his chest, and he began to cry. He cried and he cried. He cried so hard that he rubbed all of the color of Muskrat's belly. And he said, Muskrat, why? Why would you sacrifice yourself for all of us? All of the animals, even more upset, started to cry. And then Muskrat's tiny little paw flopped open. And in the center of her palm was a tiny ball of earth. Muskrat had done it. She had gotten that earth from the bottom so they could rebuild the earth. All of the animals were overjoyed, but still sad that they had lost such a good friend, and that Muskrat would sacrifice herself for all of them. Then Sack-Jack knew he had to get to work, and so he asked everyone in the boat, who will hold this earth on their back? And And the turtle graciously said, I will hold the earth on my back. I will carry it for many, many, many generations to come. So the turtle climbed very gently into the water, and Wasakajack took that little ball of earth and he began to rub it on the turtle's shell. And as he did, it got larger and larger and larger and heavier and heavier and heavier until it submerged the turtle right below the ocean. And it became all of the land masses that we see today. And Wasakajack knew it was time for him to get to work. So all of the animals spread out all over the land, which was barren at this time. And then Wasakajack took a deep breath to the east, and as he did, Grandfather's sun came out, and he shone with all of his might, all of his strength. He warmed up the earth, and all of the little plants started sprouting. All of the beautiful, beautiful animals started to get pregnant and be swell with all of the life in their belly. And new beginnings. Then Wasakajack took a breath to the south, and as he did, the earth began to rumble. It began to shake. Huge mountains shot up into the sky. Big trees shot up into the sky and reached their roots down deep into the earth, holding the earth to the turtle's shell. All of the beautiful valleys and hills and streams and all of these places developed. All of the land that we see to this day. Wasakajack took another deep breath to the west, and as he did, Grandmother Moon came out from behind the cloud. She pushed with all of her love and pulled with all of her might. As she pushed, all of the waters rushed over Turtle Island. As she pulled, all of the waters receded. She continued to push and pull, creating the tides, and as the waters rushed in and out, they became the rivers and the streams and the lakes and the ponds and all of the water that we see now on Turtle Island. Wasakajack took a deep breath to the north, and as he did, all of the winds began to blow from all of the directions. They began to spin together from all directions, and the world began to spin. Turtle Island began to spin every which way, and then Grandmother Moon and Grandfather Sun worked together to push and pull and push and pull to slow the earth down, to calm it down, and by then they created the seasons, the days and the nights, all of the months and the weeks, and all of time itself, but the rhythm that Mother Earth has for life. And then all of the animals took a deep breath for the very first time. All of the plants took a breath for the very first time. And this was the sacred breath that we all share of those sacred winds of Wasakajack. And then Wasakajack took one more breath and blew into that little muskrat. And Muskrat took her first sacred breath. It was such a gift that she had received life back from Wasakajack. She was so thankful and humbled. But Wasakajack and all of the other animals were so thankful and humbled that she alone had sacrificed herself to rebuild the earth. And that is the creation story. Also, part of that was Wasakajack learned his lesson the first time and let all of the animals teach us what we needed to know, because of course he dropped the ball the first time. So with that, I wanted to share the creator song. This is of course a song that I learned from Elizabeth Potskin, and then I found out later that it was actually one of our family songs that had been lost for a really long time. So it's such a gift when songs return to families, or when you're able to share them within community. It just leaves such a lasting and long impression, and it's such a gift. So yeah, I'm very, very thankful for this song, and every time I think of it, and every time I sing it, there's such power and grace, and it's such a gift. I was able to share it with my great aunt, who is in care right now. But as I'm singing it for the first time, she begins to sing along with me. And I was like, Auntie, you know this song? And she's like, where did you find this song? This is one of our family songs. Where did you find it? So it was such a beautiful homecoming for this song. And it just always solidifies that you're on the right path when those things come to you, when they're needed. So this is the Creator song. Espemeko tawino, ize koko tawino, weyo heyo ha weyo, 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 weyo heyo ha weyo. Espemeko tawino, ize koko tawino, weyo heyo ha weyo, 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 weyo heyo ha weyo. Espemeko tawino, ize koko tawino, weyo heyo ha weyo, 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 weyo heyo tawino. Awesome. So I'm going to share the Thunderbird story really quickly, and then the Thunderbird song, and yeah, that went really quick. So the Thunderbird song and the Thunderbird story. So to me, the Thunderbird is like our path. It's our destiny. It's that driving force that pushes us forward. It's, you know, that strength of our ancestors, the stories of our ancestors coming through us. It reminds us to always, you know, honor our ancestors with the decisions that we're making and honor those 7 generations forward. But it also reminds us that everything happens for a reason. And so you can't go back, you can't change time. All you can do is learn from it and move forward. Even though sometimes we do wish we could change the mistakes of our past. But without them, we wouldn't be who we are. We wouldn't have learned the lessons that we needed to learn. But also, if we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, eventually the Thunderbird will get fed up with us and just boop, kick us in the butt and put us on the right path. So the story of the Thunderbird kind of came to me after the Thunderbird song. But this it's really about the birch tree, it's about the rabbit, it's about Wasaka-Jack, of course, because he always gets into trouble, but it's about a little bit of everybody. And so a long time ago, when we came back as the Two-Leggeds, Creator had, you know, of course we're pretty naked, so Creator had asked the buffalo to help provide for us in the winter for when things get a little cold. And so the buffalo showed us how to use every part of it, how to use it for, you know, for tools, how to use it for food, how to use it for, you know, a ceremony, but also how to use it for clothing, how to use it for, you know, those buffalo robes for keeping our bottoms warm in the winter, for blankets, and also for teepees. And so the buffalo gave of itself so that we could learn how to survive through the winter. But one particular winter, it was so incredibly cold, and it didn't matter how many layers of buffalo hide and how many layers of leather you had over top of you. Oh, it's Simon, I'll call her back. But as they had all of these layers on them, they were still freezing. And so Creator was like, well, what else can we do? And Wasaka-Jack really was taking pity on us and said, well, Creator, why don't we give them some fire? I could go talk to the Thunderbird and we can take some fire for them. And Creator thought that was not a very good idea, because Creator knew of the destructive ability that fire had, and how, you know, we had destroyed the earth before when we were gifted fire, so we'd probably do it again. And so he said, no, that's not a good idea, Wasaka-Jack. You come up with something else. But Wasaka-Jack was dead set on giving us fire. And so he walked up to the Thunderbird and he said, Thunderbird, can I have some fire for the two-leggeds? And the Thunderbird said, no, Creator already warned me, and no, I will not be giving you any fire for the two-leggeds, because of what happened last time. They were so destructive. We don't want that to happen again with Sakajack, especially because you don't really take care of things. And Sakajack was dead set on it and said, oh, of course, you're right. But he waited until the Thunderbird finally fell asleep. You could always tell the Thunderbird was asleep because when she snores, it's like rolling thunder. It's like me when I'm congested. So waited, and then he heard the whole cave just rumbling with her majestic snoring and knew it was time to sneak in there and steal one of her fiery eggs. And so Sakajack snuck in. He reached deep inside her nest, very quietly and carefully pulled out one of her beautiful fiery eggs. And then he began to sneak out of the cave. And thinking that he had gotten away with it, he stopped paying attention and he started strutting so proudly until he tripped over a stone, and then he tripped over a log and he dropped the egg. He watched as the fiery egg rolled down the side of the hill, catching everything on fire in its path. He tried to stamp it out, but there was no escaping it. He heard the trumpets of the elk as the elk led all of the animals away from the fire. And he knew he was in trouble. And so Sakajack chased that fiery egg all the way down the hill, grabbed it, and knew he had to hide it somewhere, so he swallowed it, giving himself some pretty bad heartburn. But he knew he had to hide from that beautiful Thunderbird because she was going to wake up, and he heard her screech as she knew something was off. And she came out and she saw all of this fire and all of this destruction, and she knew it was Sakajack's fault. And so she cried out, Sakajack! And she looked. Sakajack turned himself into a wapoose, a rabbit, and he started hopping away. But she knew that was Sakajack, and so she poured her love and her water, and that rain all over the fire to try and stop as much as she could to end that destruction. Of course, there was pieces and parts of it that were creeping towards the village of the two-leggeds, but she was dead set she needed to get that Sakajack. And so as she flew towards Sakajack, or that rabbit, she watched him, and he was zigging and zagging, and all of the rabbits watched this funny little dance that Sakajack was doing. And they thought, that's actually a really good way to get away from predators. And so to this day, the rabbits are still jumping back and forth and zigzagging as Sakajack taught them how to dance and do. But he continued on his path, and Sakajack saw this clearing with all of the aspens, and he ran to the aspens and he said, Aspens, aspens, you must hide me! And the aspens began to tremble because they were terrified of the Thunderbird, and they said, no way! But they never stopped trembling because of that possibility of being burned by the Thunderbird. And so Sakajack continued to hop along, and then finally he saw the beautiful birch trees, and he asked the birch trees, who were stark white, and it was winter, and he had a rabbit's coat, so he was stark white as well. And he said, birch trees, can you protect me? Can you save me? And so the birch trees crowded around Sakajack as that white rabbit to try and hide him. But the Thunderbird was not easily fooled. She saw him and she was angry at this point. So she reached in and she was scratching at the trees and she was clawing at the trees with her big, beautiful lightning claws, scorching them and singeing them. And this to this day is exactly why all of those beautiful birch trees have those burn marks from the Thunderbird. And as she was angry and tearing and ripping, she looked behind her and she saw the fire as it reached the beautiful village. And she saw as all of the two-leggeds were crowding around and warming themselves, and how joyful they were at this gift of fire. They were talking and they were sharing the stories of the Thunderbird that they had just seen, the stories of the beautiful bunnies and Sakajack and how funny he was. And as the Thunderbird listened to the stories and saw how fire brought all of the two-leggeds together, she took pity on them. She saw as they were warming, all of the ones that were close to death came back to life, and she knew that this was the only way to save the two-leggeds from this bitter winter. And so she said to Wasakajack, Wasakajack, you can come out now. You have to go and speak to the two-leggeds and teach them how to use the fire wisely. Because fire can be a gift for creation, but it could also hurt many of our communities and our places, and they can hurt each other, the animals and the plants, with this fire. So they must be responsible. Wasakajack, you're the only one who can teach them these things. So get on it, get to work. And so the thunderbird put out whatever was left, and Wasakajack brought that beautiful egg of fire to the two-leggeds and presented it. We promised to be responsible. And from this day forward, it always brings us together around the fire for stories, for songs, and for wisdom, and to remember the gift of the thunderbird and Wasakajack. And so that's the story of the thunderbird and Wasakajack. And I'm looking at my window, and there's a little mouse in my window. Actually, no, it's bigger. I think it's a foal. It's very cute, though. But I wasn't sleeping a couple of days ago because my cats were freaking out in the window, and from 2 in the morning until about 5 in the morning, I didn't sleep because the cats kept jumping at the window. And I saw the little vole. I thought he was gone, but nope, he's still there. So very cute. But this is the Thunderbird song. So I'm going to share, oh my goodness, I've had the bird song. Yeah, I'm going to share the ancestral bird song because it's really been in my head all day today. And it's really about just calling in community, how I knew it as the it came through me as a Blue Jay song, because the Blue Jay is like that voice of community. You can always tell what's happening in the community with what the Blue Jays are calling out. If there's danger, you can hear a certain call from it. Blue Jays are really incredible mimics, so they can actually communicate with all of the birds and change their voice depending on which bird they're having a conversation with, which is really amazing. But also, they look blue, but they're actually brown. So they teach us that appearances can be deceiving. Because when we look really, really closely at the Blue Jay's feathers, there's actually there's little brown hairs all over it. And that refraction of the light is what gives it that blue color. And so really amazing. I think Blue Jays are just incredible. They are definitely my guides. They tell me always to stand up for what's right and raise our voices in many different communities, not just within my own community. I think it's really, really important. And so yeah, this is the ancestral bird song, the Blue Jay song. It's really about hearing everybody's voice in the circle and honoring everybody's voice in community. Hi, Milk. Way on, way on, way on. Way on, way on, way on. Way on, way on, way on. Way on, way on. way ah, way oh, way ah, way ah, way oh, way ah, way oh, way ah, way ah, way oh. Way ah, way oh, way ah, way ah, way oh, way ah, way oh, way ah, way ah, way Awesome. So I'm going to share you, I'm getting tired. It's been the end of my day. But I'm going to share with you one last song. This is the traveling song, just so that the path ahead is beautiful and you learn a lot, that it's gentle, that it's that reminder that all paths lead home. And home is where you make it. Home is really about a sense of place and a sense of experience. It is more about the people that you surround yourself with. So we have family or friends that kind of become our family. And sometimes when we have strained relationships with our family, it reminds us that they're there for us for a reason. We have different things to learn from each other. And you know, there are those people that, even though we've had some struggles, it's important to learn from those relationships. Never letting yourself get hurt, but also reminding yourself to be compassionate and kind. A lot of our families and communities are coming through intergenerational trauma, and a lot of them have finally started to break those patterns of abuse and those patterns of intergenerational trauma. I've been thankful that my path has led me to break those chains with my own family, and so my children have never experienced that. And in turn, it has helped me to connect with my culture and be able to open up my heart enough that I was actually able to bring in 2 girls into my home. And so now I have 2 new kids, and I'm sharing that connection of culture and that, you know, that value that we have as Indigenous people in the ways that we can share. And this song really leads us there. It says that yes, the path might be hard, but it's how we end up on the other side. That's what's important. It's important to, you know, approach everything that life throws at us as an opportunity. And this song really demonstrates that. And so this is the traveling song, which I learned from Sharon Purr Turner, and I miss her very, very much. And it came back to me through a few friends of mine. And so I always say, when things are meant to come back to you, they will. When you're on the right path, you tend to bump into the same people over and over again. And so it's a gift. Just keep going on that path and paying attention to those signs that Creator throws in our faces. So this is the traveling song. Way wonderful, wonderful week ahead. Please welcome in the spring in a good way. And also, my gardening tip for the week, always put in tobacco with your seeds and then they will grow back bigger. Last year we did that experiment and it totally worked. So I will give you a progress report on that. So best wishes. Love you guys all. Thank you so much for joining me. And please feel free to share. We save it so you can use it at any time. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful week ahead. I'm looking forward to warmer weather. And now I'm going to go put my shoes and socks on and pull that little vole out of my windowsill so it doesn't keep me up all night. So good night, everybody. Love you. Miigwech. Hi, hi.